Throughout the first Insomniac Spider-Man game, multiple hints to a greater Marvel world were present, such as the inclusion of Avengers Tower and the Lockjaw statue in Insomniac's New York, although the physical versions of these characters were not included in the game. While the game did a good job at expanding upon the Spider-Man mythos and laying the ground for future Marvel crossovers, one hope I personally have for the coming games is the inclusion of other Marvel heroes. New York is home to multiple Marvel characters such as Doctor Strange, Captain America, and the Defenders, but thanks to recent information provided on Spider-Man Miles Morales, one character I believe has a high chance of being present in the game, and that character is Luke Cage. Cage's most popular portrayal is without a doubt his Netflix series starring Michael Coulter as the character, along with appearances in other Defender series such as Jessica Jones, with Heroes for Hire being a popular storyline for the character alongside Iron Fist. However, with recent news involving the future of Insomniac's Spider-Man game, it has led me to believe a possible role for the character is incoming, or even a reference to the character in Insomniac's world. From a PlayStation blog article sharing details involving the story of Spider-Man Miles Morales, one section of the article mentions the setting for the game, which takes place during the winter a year after the events of Spider-Man PS4, with a war between an energy corporation and high-tech criminals in Harlem, Miles' new home being the heart of the battle. Now, what's interesting about this bit of information is that Miles' home in the game is Harlem, a place where Luke Cage also calls home. Harlem was included in Spider-Man PS4, but I assume the section will be much larger than the previous game, since it sounds like a majority of the story will focus on the events taking place in Harlem. I find it interesting that Miles' home in this game is Harlem, considering the character is known for being from Brooklyn, but I assume there's a good reason to that, and with the game focusing on Harlem, it makes me believe Luke Cage could possibly appear in the game. This wouldn't be the first time the character appeared in a Spider-Man game, as he appeared in Web of Shadows, which I believe his role in that game was helping prevent a gang war throughout the area, and with hints towards a greater Marvel world, the next step in expanding the world would be to include one of the Marvel characters. Personally, I would find it a bit disappointing if only hints to Luke Cage were featured in this game, since a greater Marvel world was already teased previously, and the hints towards these characters should eventually pay off with a proper appearance from one. I mean, I would find it a bit odd that all these events are taking place in Harlem and Luke Cage is nowhere to be found during the events. Also, including another hero in the game would help further Miles' progression as a hero, since he's only been active for 1 year, and the Peter Parker of this world is known by other heroes that were hinted at, so I think it would be cool to see Miles interact with a hero that isn't Peter Parker. Also relating to that, I know an image of Miles and Peter was released, but his role in the game is still a mystery, and if the character ends up being absent from the game, I think an appearance from an established character like Cage could provide guidance for Miles if it is needed in the story. Like I said previously, I'd find it a bit odd if all these events were taking place in Harlem not to have an appearance from Cage. Every other Marvel hero was already absent when the city was burning down in the first game, so we need another appearance from a character in the game that isn't related to Spider-Man. So with my points on why I believe an appearance from Luke Cage is possible in this game and why I want one, I also brought on my longtime friend who's recently started his own channel, Protocol 36, along in this video to provide his thoughts on this topic, and here's what he had to say.
Hi everyone, this is Protocol 36. I would like to thank RonnyPugs for providing the opportunity to collab with him, talk about whether or not Harlem's Captain America Luke Cage will be in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now you may be asking, out of all the characters in the Marvel Universe, why Luke Cage? Well, one of the reasons being is because of the recent PlayStation blog written by the creative director Brian Horton, talk about how Miles has moved from Brooklyn to Harlem, and we know who usually lives in Harlem. Also, believe it or not, Miles and Luke have met in the comics before, along with his wife, Jessica Jones, in the 2016 Miles Morales run at the end of issue 7, continuing at issue 8, as Miles' grandmother hired Jones to investigate on Miles after his grades started slipping. And in the end of their meeting, Luke Cage notes that Spider-Man is a person of color now, and that it's great and also important. It'd be really cool to have this moment in the game, as from a black superhero to another, they are also important and can make a difference like everyone else, and will be an awesome message to people who's playing the game that regardless of your background and color of your skin, you too can be a hero, kinda similar to Into the Spider-Verse. We don't really know if Luke Cage gained his powers in this universe, as there's nothing to suggest that he did, nor even a reference to the character, even though we have other references to the Defenders like Daredevil, Iron Fist and Jessica Jones, but there's also nothing to suggest that he doesn't have his powers, which we believe he does, and it would be odd to not see him or have a hint towards him, since the game will be about a corporate and high-tech war. It doesn't have to be in the main game story, but also could be in a side mission, which would be perfect and further expand their take on the Marvel Universe. It doesn't mean that he has to be in it or that he will, but as fans, it would be awesome to see Miles meet another superhero who lives in the same area as he does. I can't imagine Insomniac not thinking about Luke Cage when locating him in Harlem. Once again, thank you to my good friend RonnyPugs for collabing with me in his channel.
So that's what my good friend Protocol 36 had to say on this topic. If you guys want to check out more content from him, I'll leave his channel linked in the description, and I'm sure he'll most likely comment on this video. Both of us do agree that there should be an appearance from Luke Cage, but one thing that my good friend mentioned was that in the comics when Luke Cage and Miles met, one thing that Luke Cage noticed was that this Spider-Man was a person of color. It wasn't just Peter Parker in a new suit, this was an entirely new hero. This relates to what I said, that it would be cool to see Miles interact with heroes other than Spider-Man, since Miles is a fairly new character to this world. A new character to the Marvel Universe in this world. I think Miles interacting with characters in this world that aren't Peter Parker would be cool to see, since it would progress him as a character and it would further establish him in this world among the other Marvel heroes. So there you have it, my thoughts along with my good friend Protocol 36's thoughts on whether or not Luke Cage will appear in this game. Let me know what you guys thought of the video, and if you think Luke Cage will appear, or do you think we'll just see an Easter egg to him like in the previous game? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe, follow my social medias, hit that like button, and I will see you guys again in my next video.